Hello, I don't know if you expected to see me again so soon, but here I am. I have finished the next arc. It's called War for Paradis arc. It's volumes 27, 28, and half of 29, episodes 68 through 75. This was an overwhelming chunk of the story. It was so much information thrown at me, so much recontextualization, so much to take in. I felt very overwhelmed by the end, but also some of the best scenes of the arc. Well, especially one scene in particular, best scene of, of the arc, of the series. One of the best scenes of the series was in this section. Wow, she's articulate today. I'm just gonna cut straight to the vlog clips because there's so much to cover in this section, so welcome to the vlog. I have started the, whatever the next arc is called, I don't even know, but I finished volume 26 and read most of volume 27, and I watched episodes 68 through 70, so, whew, the story is a lot to take in, I can say that much. So the beginning of the arc, we are seeing Eren lifting up the ships, Eren intercepting Marley and soldiers, and taking captive, I believe this is Niccolo, right? The one that that ends up cooking for Sasha and everyone. Ah, yeah, Niccolo. We actually see him get captured. We learn about the ones that are willing to betray Marley because they're following Zeke, and we're introduced to the concept of the rumbling. We get to see the actual flashback of Niccolo feeding Sasha and how much she appreciates food. And I gotta say, when I first started reading Attack on Titan, so many people commented saying she's going to love Hanji. Murphy is Hanji. And I understand, because I have labeled this series The Ravings of a Madwoman, but I have never related to a character like I relate to Sasha and her love for food. Her appreciation of a really, really good meal. Anyway, we are introduced to the term the rumbling and realizing that the plan moving forward is to use it. Sweet Armin doesn't want war and doesn't want to use the rumbling and wants to be able to try to negotiate peace. We can speak to Marley and others around the world once the port is done, if we just resolved our misunderstandings. And he just wants time, because he's reflecting on the cost of this war, on the lives that have been lost, and wondering if maybe there was a different path that they could have taken than the one that Eren has led them into. I thought I understood Eren better than anyone, even Mikasa, but I don't understand him anymore. And then he's reflecting on the damage that they did, all the people that they killed, everything that they destroyed. Eren would have done it, whether they backed him up or not. We showed up out of nowhere and took everything from them, just like what happened to us that day. Then again, if that military port had been left intact, Marley would have launched an immediate counterattack on this island. We've abandoned any hope for peace now, but we had to do it. Just like the three of you that day. Right, Annie? I really feel for Armin in this scene because it feels so hopeless to him, this understanding of an impossible situation that they've been backed into. If we don't respond, then we get destroyed. But if we respond, then we destroy civilians too. And it's just this situation of, is there another path? Is there any hope? Y'all felt backed into a corner. We feel backed into a corner. It doesn't seem like there is a way to resolve this, but surely there has to be some way, just holding on to that hope that there is some peace that can be established that isn't just further destruction. And then you turn the page and what you find is Eren looking into a mirror just going, fight, fight, fight. It's like, you've got, I totally back Armin's conflict and desire for any other kind of resolution, but I have a feeling that regardless, Eren is going to drag them all into hell. So then we have volume 27, which is also very happy. Okay, so the Hizarus they've shown us their crest, and then we realize that that's the one that Mikasa's mom put on her and told her to pass down as well. So Mikasa is royalty as well. Different kind of royalty. You are a descendant of our nation's lost lord. You are Hizuru's hope. I do wonder if we're going to get further explanation, because the explanation we've been given here is just, in the confusion, the ruler's heir was left here in this other country. That's your explanation. Like, there's no detailed explanation. And there's a piece of me that's like, well, okay, we probably need better explanation than that, because that's like wild. But at the same time, in the aftermath of a war lost, not having everything perfectly documented makes sense. So Zeke is developing an alliance and giving them, let's see, here it is. A top secret Marleyan project that is fueled by ice burst stone. It has the ice burst stone has been dug up on Paradis, but he doubts that the people of Paradis have any idea of the true value of the resource, but your nation does. So this is going to cause an alliance between the two nations. Oh, right, and Historia is being told that you're going to inherit the Beast Titan and also produce all the children you can. Just be a baby machine. Zeke will pass down the Beast Titan to one with royal blood, and that person must spend the 13 years they have left bearing as many children as possible. I love Eren's response here. If it means paying for, and she accepts. And then Eren says, if it means paying for our lives with broken walls, trampled land, and children bred and killed like livestock, I will absolutely not accept Zeke Yeager's plan. And he wanted to look for any possible option other than this. And then we cut to present day where Eren is imprisoned and they still haven't found another way. And he just lets them know, I ate the Warhammer Titan, so I can get free anytime I want. You can't hold me here. If there's another way, then tell me what it is. The scenes at Sasha's grave were also so sad, with Mikasa just sitting at the grave on her own, Connie crying over it, Niccolo devastated, just how loved Sasha was and how much this is affecting them. And in the meantime, Gabi, there's so much happening in so few pages. Gabi escapes prison with Falco by, brutalizing a guard, and Historia is pregnant. I'm not entirely sure, I'm not super clear on exactly what's happening here. She accepted, yes, I will take the Beast Titan and then produce bunches and bunches of children. If this is what we have to do, then this is what we have to do. And then she gets pregnant right away, it seems, and that irritates people because they're like, now we can't give her the Beast Titan. So was she just trying to delay? It seems like she was just trying to delay the time before she's given the Beast Titan, though she's accepted that she will get it, but she's just trying to not get it right away, I guess. I do feel so bad for her, though, because her eyes are so dead here as she's sitting holding her pregnant belly. And then when she approaches the man who works at one of her orphanages, who she decides to, have the baby with, she just looks so resolved for the task. Like, it's not joyful for her. It's honestly just really sad. It's just so sad to see a character that I love so much, and I've watched her overcome so much and fight for control over her life and control over her future, to not be manipulated and forced into receiving a Titan and continuing on this family with her family. And now she's just being manipulated and forced into taking on a different Titan. So it's like she fought for agency over her own future, over her own path, and not just falling in line and doing what's expected of her. And instead, now she's allied herself with other people who are doing the same thing. And I feel like all the life has left her eyes, and it just makes me so sad. Connie, too. Man, everybody's just in the darkest timeline. Connie, too, no longer trusts Eren and isn't sure that he actually does have their best at heart. Mikasa is still, you know, totally in. She's like, no, Eren loves us more than anybody in the world. He's always going to do what's best for us no matter what. I super believe it. And Connie's like, I don't anymore. And if it turns out, if he's capable of picking his half-brother over us, then we need to be prepared to cut him down ourselves. And when Mikasa objects, the look on Connie's face when he turns and looks at her is that resolute, just like, we have to do what we have to do because I can't trust my old friend anymore. They continue the conversation. They remember back when they were all working together, and Eren said that he didn't want any of them to take on his Titan because he cares about them too much and he wants to protect them. And Connie says, when Sasha died, well, first of all, he says, if we hadn't gone, Sasha wouldn't have had to die. And then he says, what do you think Eren did when she died? Do you think he cried? Do you think that's what happened? Or do you think he laughed? Now, the look on his face when she died was not one of joy. I can say that. Maybe manic. But not, it was not a happy laughter or I don't care kind of laughter. But it certainly wasn't an overwhelmed mourning for a friend. It was a different kind of reaction than what Connie and Armin had, and that has affected Connie. The fact, I mean, Hanji said, I think it was Hanji, when they got Eren out of there after they had done everything they had done, and Hanji said, you put your trust in us and we lost our trust in you. And Connie is displaying exactly that. Like, I do not trust this man anymore. I will not think the best of him. I will not believe in him to lead us into a better era. So Armin's hope is to show everyone that Eren is still on their side, that they can still trust him. And then we cut to Gabi. So something that I forgot to mention when Gabi got them free from their prison cell. Yeah, after they escaped, she had, gosh, I love the way she's drawn in these chapters. She had this look on her face. I guess I could call it manic just as well. She had this look on her face as she was screaming out, I can't trust Zeke anymore. I can't trust anyone. That desperation of just like not really sure what to do, or her whole life has been turned upside down. And now they're out, just the two of them out in the woods, or they're in the woods. And Falco wants to, well, he tears her armband off. He's like, there's no reason to wear that. Why do you want to wear it so bad? And again, she freaks out. She's like, I need everyone to see that I'm a good Eldian. I'm not one of the devils. I'm not one of the monsters. I'm not one of the bad ones that needs to be destroyed. Like, I'm good. I'm loyal to Marley. I still have accepted this view of the world and of our mission. And I still wear my symbol of submission under their rule of law. And still she has this look on her face of, I don't know how to describe it other than like desperation, like an unraveling, a terror about her situation and about being completely out of control. Everything she thought she understood about the world is going wrong. It's not going the way it should. Her people, her ideals are not serving her the way that she always thought that they would. And then we cut back to Marley. We see the destruction, we see the bodies, we see the mourning of the people, and then we see them strategizing and realizing that Zeke has betrayed them. They found his limbs, they didn't find him, and realizing that he helped to organize this. And Reiner is the one that says we have to attack now. We cannot wait for alliances. We cannot wait for some organized thing. We need to go in now before they can recuperate. This scene I didn't understand. So there were the group of people that ended up leaking information. We have the civil unrest, the civilians that no longer are trusting Hanji, that are no longer feeling secure anymore. And so they're trying to get information while information is being withheld. And then we had the people who leaked the information, causing further unrest. And then the girl who's in the prison cell, she models herself after Mikasa and really trusts her and admires her. And when she saluted Mikasa had like these flashes of memories, remembering Eren defending her, attacking those guys way back at the beginning and protecting her. And I didn't really understand this scene, why that scenario reminded her of that. Maybe, okay, you know what? Maybe it was that Mikasa saved that girl when she was young. And that caused her to have this whole devotion to Mikasa, this intense, I'll do anything to get closer to you, to help you, like I'll devote my life to you, essentially. And when she saw that kind of, solidarity is the wrong word. When she saw that kind of response to being saved, it reminded her of the moment that Eren earned that in her. The moment that Mikasa devoted her life to protecting and being there for Eren, no matter what. I guess that's probably what that scene was. You can give me clarity if I've missed something, but I guess it was just more about people devoting themselves to other people after they've protected each other, maybe. All right, back to Gabi. So, as I pointed out, her how desperate she's been and how upset she is at her worldview being turned upside down. So now she's working at one of Historia's orphanages that she opened to help the children who have been, you know, displaced because of this war. So they were found by one of the girls who lives at this orphanage, one of the orphan girls, and they've been brought in and kind of embraced and loved on. And Gabi is getting the same opportunity that Reiner got and the same opportunity that Eren got. And like I just said, it's characters being placed in very similar situations, and we get to watch them respond differently in the way that is unique to their character. So she's being brought into enemy territory, seeing the humanity of the enemy, seeing that the enemy isn't a bunch of evils, but rather humans capable of good and evil. She's being shown kindness. She's being shown love. She's seeing that duality, and she's responding in her unique way. For her, it's to hold on to her radicalization. For her, it's holding on to the history that she's been taught and to the ideals that she's kept in her head all this time, even in the face of kindness, even as this girl is recognizing, yeah, I know you're Marleyan. I know you're from Marley. And she's still giving them kindness. She's still embracing them. She's known it from the beginning. And all this time, she's been living with them anyway. And how does she respond when she learns that? She picks up a pitchfork and tries to kill the girl. She's so, at least in the moment, so lost in this ideal that she isn't even responding to seeing the humanity. It's the same response no matter what the situation. So this scene is one of the best scenes of the arc so far to me, when this girl, Kaya, I think was her name, brought them back to her home village, and we see her show them her home. And we realize this is the girl that Sasha saved, which was also one of the best scenes in the series, with Sasha and her dad. Sasha's dad, he still sticks with me. My patrons asked me the other day to create a top 10 character list, and Sasha's dad is still in my list. Anyway, Sasha's dad basically speaking out some of the main themes of the story, and then Sasha's story being that cyclical display of what he was trying to display, what he was trying to teach her that day in the woods. And then we come back to that tangent, and we see the results of that, and that's that this child is still living, and this child is offering kindness and trying to understand, trying to piece together the rationale. What did my mom do to deserve this? She tells them her story, and she asks, like, why did this have to happen? And still, Gabi is doing the same. Still, she has this look on her face and she's shouting out the things that she has been taught her entire life, talking about their history, talking about what the Eldians must do to pay for their history. And Kaya's saying, my mom didn't kill anyone. Why did my mom have to die in agony like that? There has to be some reason. And finally, Falco tells her, recon in force. All I know is the incursion on Paradis 4 years ago was a recon in force mission to prepare for a large-scale attack. It was a test to learn about the enemy's combat strength. That's what your mother got wrapped up in. She didn't commit any sin. I'm sorry. She didn't do anything wrong. I love that this scene shows that trauma lasts for generations, but making all the generations to come burn for it just continues the cycle until everyone has killed each other and no one is left. I really want Gabi to learn from this. I really want her to finally break through that radicalization that is so ingrained in her and be able to see the world from a different angle. But because this story does explore things from so many different angles, and because of the role that Gabi has played in this story up to this point, I'm worried that she won't, but my heart breaks for her and I really, really want that for her. But this scene ended on Kaya explaining to them that the only reason she's alive is because someone saved her, because someone stepped in and fought off a Titan for her. I have chills just talking about it again. She used herself as a human shield so that I could get away from the Titan. She said that if I kept running down this path, I would eventually find someone who'd save me. She told me to keep running until I met them. If she was still alive, she'd never abandon 2 kids with nowhere to go like you. She'd help you like she helped me. And then she invites them to go with her, to go to this event with her. And Gabi asks, why? Why would you do that? And she says, I want to be more like her. I know I've said it before, and I've probably said it too many times. I'm probably too repetitive. But the way this story ties things together like this, showing how Sasha's sacrifice to save Kaya is what motivates her to want to not continue this way, to want to find a better path, to look at them and say, you're from Marley. You're not one of the people that directly harmed me. So I'm not gonna, I want to embrace you. I want to move forward. I want to go a different path. I want to be like the one that saved me, not knowing that who she's showing this kindness to is the one that killed Sasha. It's so intentional how we keep coming back to the same threads in this way, how they're all tangling themselves together to make these themes so prominent. It's honestly stunning. The next chapter in this volume I have not read yet because it leads me into the next episode, which I haven't watched yet because the episode is this chapter plus one in the next volume. So I'll talk to you about that in the next clip. Bye. I can't tell how this looks. Sorry if it looks bad, but this will be on the shorter side, relatively, compared to the other clips. This will be on the shorter side, because we're only talking about 2 chapters. 2 packed chapters, but 2 chapters. The reason we're only talking about 2 chapters here is because my patrons really wanted me to stream the last 3 episodes in this arc, which leaves me with 2 chapters to talk about before that stream. But honestly, those 2 chapters provide quite a bit of content for us to talk about. So what I would describe this section of the story as is everything is going wrong. Everything is getting, we're going to our lowest low, to our darkest place before hopefully something moves, honestly. So everybody is getting into place and we're getting more reveals about the way everything has been up to this point. So we're getting more context around Connie's village, that Zeke used his spinal fluid as a gas weapon to turn all of the residents into Titans. which is something that I've been waiting for. You know, I've been wanting to know, how exactly did he do this? Or not Zeke specifically, how exactly did whoever it is that has come into this walled off area and then from the inside turn this entire village into titans? And we finally have the answer. They never told me how it works, but my spinal fluid makes it inside the body of any subject of Ymir. A coordinate is etched inside of them in which the power of the titans can be sent. So that's terrifying. So Zeke has been doing this to all of his fellow people. His mind is, I'm trying to save Eldians, and this is collateral damage, we'll call it. You know, like, yes, I had to do this to these people, but it's for the greater good. And I loved Levi in the scene where he says, its name was Rugako. It was a village full of Eldians you slaughtered, you bearded. And Zeke is justifying it. I mean, his thought is, I had to do it. Like, this is the cost of war. This is what it cost for me to ally myself where I needed to ally myself in order to take care of things. And Levi just seems really disgusted by his cavalier attitude about it, by the fact that he's just like, yeah, I did it. It's a part of war. And Levi's like, these are people, though. I don't know how to say this person's name, but we get more information on her that, you know, she's a Jaegerist. She's very loyal to Eren, just wanted Eren to know who she was. Two brothers are going to remake the world. I just want to have good view of the action. We also get to see Armin, who is visiting with Annie and trying to talk to her, trying to keep her company, trying to understand, relating back to her. We're seeing more of the uprising that's happening among the civilians, people who are becoming Jaegerists, people who are agreeing with what Eren did and rallying behind him, and we get this explosion. So now we have assassinations happening, we have people being taken out for this new cause. I mean, just around every corner, everything is kind of just going the worst it possibly could. It's just turning into more and more chaos. Oh yeah, and then Eren escapes from prison, which, I mean, he told them he could. He was like, I can leave anytime I want to. I've actually seen images of this, so that was pretty cool to actually get to that moment and know all the context around it. And sweet Armin just really holding on to hope that Eren is not too far gone. It's okay, Mikasa. I know Eren will understand. If we talk to him, I'm sure he'll understand. And we get a glimpse that Peck is here, has come into the area, and the quick action plan. We can't let people rally around us. We just have to move now. It's starting. Okay, so that was the final volume, or the final chapter of volume 27, and then I have one chapter that I read in volume 28 before we get to the rest of it. We have, I don't actually know how to say his name, maybe it's Pixis. I also don't know if you can really see the iPad very well, so I'm not sure how much I can show you. But we have him saying, let's surrender to Eren. They've got us beat here. There's nothing we can do about enemies inside the military. Even if we did damage to smoke out every last one, imagine how much blood will have to be spilled. The thought alone is terrifying, not to mention that we don't have the time to waste on such folly. It's not a submission. We negotiate with Eren and the other Jaegerists by putting Zeke's location on the table. They must realize that if they're thinking of taking on the world someday, they shouldn't be fighting us. And then finally, we have the scene that I've been, you know, wanting to get to. This is the scene that I really want to be talking about, because everything else is strategy, right? It's just things going into place, seeing how the world is responding to the chaos around them and how it's getting more chaotic, how the different people in the military are responding and strategizing. This is the scene that I want to talk about because it's one of the greatest scenes in the entire series, in my opinion. So it starts off with Niccolo, with Jean finding some wine and wanting to drink it, and Niccolo grabbing it out of his hand. The point was he was trying to protect them because he already suspected what was going on here. And Kaya told them, I'm pretty sure Niccolo and Sasha were in love. So then what does Gabi do but to not believe that anything like that could be possible? There is no reality in which a Marleyan could fall in love with an Eldian. So she just, I guess, assumes that he's in deep cover. So she goes and seeks him out and tells him, we snuck aboard the airship, tells him basically, like, I'm the one, right? And he asks, did you kill a female soldier? And she's like, yeah, I super did. I killed the woman you love. Just kidding, she didn't say it like that, but... So he beats them. He beats them up. Falco basically saves Gabi's life, takes on the hit himself, is totally incapacitated, and Niccolo drags them both back and says, these are the ones that killed Sasha. Sasha's dad. This is it. This is the one that killed your daughter. Take the knife. Kill them, return the favor, get revenge for Sasha. I really love this bit that Gabi is on the ground screaming at them. I lost someone important too because Sasha shot him, so I got revenge. She killed him first, and Niccolo is saying, who cares which came first? And he's just ready to kill her. And it's so similar to exactly what Gabi did when Falco tried to explain to her, they're doing this as retaliation. We've done so much harm to them. They're here now killing us because of us killing them. And Gabi's like, did you see it happen? Did you see us kill them? And he's like, no. And she goes, me either. This is what I'm seeing right now. And that's exactly what's playing out again, where Gabi's like, Sasha killed someone that I care about, and so I killed her. And Niccolo's like, I don't care. You killed Sasha. It's like, what directly affects us is the weightier thing. And then Sasha's dad, who I feel guilty that I don't know the name of, but I'm just really afraid to Google anything in this series. So Sasha's dad is what he'll be called, tells Niccolo in the midst of all this screaming, tells him, give me the knife. And then he says this. Now here's the thing with Sasha's dad. He's one of my favorite characters of the series already, because I felt that the scenes that we had in the forest with Sasha and her whole backstory and her saving Kaya were some of the best scenes of the series for me. I thought that literally they were told so well in that cyclical nature, having the themes of the story so profoundly said by Sasha's dad. And then he leaves, and then, or rather Sasha stays behind, and then she returns to her home to play out those themes exactly, and then bringing them back together. I just thought it was such a beautiful storytelling in such a short little bit of time, but also he carries so much of what I think are some of the core themes of the story. And then here he is doing the same thing, participating in a scene where everything's coming back around on top of itself again, showing this pattern, this cycle that will never break unless one puts down the knife. And then he's able to expose the themes of this story so well. I think Sasha got killed because she wandered too long in that forest. We've gotta get the children out of this forest at the very least. Else, the same thing's just gonna happen again and again and again. To shoulder the sins and hatred of the past. Now that's our burden. Us adults. First of all, pointing out that cyclical nature, pointing out that unless we put down the knife, this will never end. This is never going to stop. But also, this never should have been the children's fight. We never should have put them in the middle of this and made them do these horrible acts and make them participate in this war and be the ones shouldering all of this. We never should have put them on this. This is our burden to bear. This is our fight to fight. This is ours to figure out. This scene... Wait, I'm not done. Okay, so... I really want to show you this. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to try. So then Gabi is absolutely astounded at this act of love and understanding, and the look in her eyes as she looks at him and says, wait, you don't hate me? And then in the background we see Kaya with nothing but hate and anguish, actually. I think I'll take that back. It's not that there's hate in her eyes, it's anguish. Rushing up from behind her with the knife, ready to kill her. And thankfully Mikasa saved her. Thankfully Mikasa was right there. She could stop her little arm and not let it just continue. But the scene is doing so much in showing how Gabi has been caught up in this cycle and caught up in these ideals and really just believes them with her whole heart and is doing everything she can to participate in the way that she believes she's supposed to, in the way that she's been trained that she's supposed to. And Sasha's dad standing in the middle saying, I have been the most directly affected of all of you, and I'm putting down the knife, and this should have never been put on this child, on any of these children. This never should have been their burden to bear. And then a child who's bearing the burden too. She didn't have to be Kaya, I'm talking about. She didn't have to become a warrior, but she still is directly affected by the nature of things that have been done. And first in losing her mother, and she tried to have sympathy, she tried to have understanding, she tried to forgive and move past it. But when she realized that also Gabi directly affected her, Gabi directly took her sister away from her, directly took someone that she loved and considered family out of her hands, out of her life, then it became too much for her to bear. And she just fell in line with that cycle. And thankfully she was stopped, which I think is so powerful to have a scene where Sasha's dad says, we have to take these children out of this forest. They should not be forced to bear this. And then a child who's been bearing it falls into line of that cycle, and she's directly stopped, and the knife is taken from her hands. And instead the family just huddles together and cries together. And it just, from what the messaging that's being told here, from what's being said to how it's all physically playing out as well, is just so impactful. You should have seen me. I'm glad you didn't. I was a mess watching this episode. After this scene, it breaks, one of the title cards or mid cards, I don't know what they're called. And then we continue on with the story, and I just had to stop for a while, go for a walk, breathe, live for a minute, because it was beautiful. I mean, it was so beautifully done, but it's also just so tragic. This life that these kids and adults are living through. And then Niccolo says, Hanji, rinse that kid's mouth out for me. Some of that wine got into it. And of course they don't understand. Who cares? Why does it matter? And he says, and that's, I assume the wine got into his mouth when he bashed him over the head with it, and then it trickled down and some of it got into his mouth. And Hanji says, is there something in that wine? And Niccolo says, I think it's Zeke's spinal fluid. So I do know a little bit more that happens beyond this chapter, because the chapters are kind of blended into episodes. So a little bit of the next chapter is in this episode, but a little bit is in the next episode. So I just played it safe. So that's the end of that. But I knew that just in that one chapter, there was enough to talk about. That was one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. That was one of the best scenes of the entire series. This is the scene that made Sasha's dad go from being in my top 5 to he's my number 1. Honestly, I think he is. I think he's my favorite character in the entire series, which is not uncommon for me to pick some side character that had some really impactful emotional moment that it really speaks to me, and then I'm like, well, that's my favorite character. Because my favorite character in One Piece is Toto, which is some random guy that shows up in Alabasta and then never shows up again, and probably never ever will be seen again. Maybe he's shown up in little flashes of looking at the world. I don't even know if that's true, but I can't help it. He's my favorite. So this is who I am. Sasha's dad is my favorite character in the series. Not just because of what he stands for and who he's chosen to be in the midst of chaos and war and pain and hurt and loss and tragedy. Not just who he chooses to be while the environment around him is stealing from him and from everyone. But also because of the storytelling around the scenes that he's been given, that physically we watch play out the things that he believes in. And I just think that the storytelling around these scenes has been unmatched. So anyway, that's my thoughts. See you later. I'm back. So now we are talking about the rest of volume 28 and half of volume 29. So I'm still, unfortunately, doing digital for the rest of volume 28, and there's a lot to talk about here. So Flock and a whole group of Jaegerists barge in and start a coup, I guess, is what I could call it. They barge in and take over and strong arm everything. Now that everyone realizes that they drank the wine and they're screwed, in come the people ready to take over, and with them they brought Eren, who shows up ready to just destroy hearts and lives. First of all, I want to say that one bit of pushback that I got in the last video, which I really appreciate, or rather, I guess I shouldn't call it pushback, that sounds negative, one clarifier that y'all provided for me, which one of my mods is now vetting my comments and just screenshotting ones that she thinks I need to see and sending them to me. Thank you, Lynn. Anyway, she screenshotted a couple of people correcting me about that conversation between Eren and Reiner, where I took it as Eren saying, I am a product of my environment, and Reiner saying, I'm a product of my environment and of my free will. I take responsibility, and I interpreted it as Reiner taking responsibility for his actions while acknowledging that he has been wronged, heavily wronged, but also saying, I'm still responsible for what I've done, what I've chosen for myself. And then I took Eren as not feeling that way. And multiple people corrected me on that, and I really appreciate it. And then this scene, of course, also corrected me as well, when Eren he sits at the table with his best friends in the world and tells them, I'm free. Whatever I do, whatever I choose, I do it out of my own free will. I mean, he's very blunt here. He's very blatant of just saying, no, I'm not being swayed. No, I'm not being persuaded. No, I'm not being manipulated. No, I'm not being controlled. This is me. These are the choices that I've made for my life. This is the path that I'm taking, and I'm doing it because this is what I've chosen for myself. And then he goes on to gaslight everyone in the room. Armin, you know how you've been reaching out to your old friend and trying to confide in her, trying to have some sort of connection to her, trying to utilize some of her memories. It's all Bertolt. You know, he was in love with her, right? And you took on his Titan? Yeah. You're actually a slave. Also, Mikasa? Yeah, you're a slave too. I issued you that command when you were a kid. All those headaches and flashes of memory you get, which I referenced earlier in the vlog, that's a part of you being a slave. Also, I hate you. And I hate you so much. You only cling to me because of your instincts as an Ackerman. You gained the battle experiences of all past Ackermans by way of a path, all because your blood mistakenly thought I was the host you had to protect. It's because it was you. And Mikasa says, no, it was you. I'm loyal to you. And he's like, nope, super not. He calls them both slaves, and he says, do you know what I hate most in the world? Anyone who isn't free. They're no better than livestock. Just looking at her made me so angry. Now I finally understand why. I couldn't stand to look at a slave who always follows orders without question. And then Armin attacks the man, and then the man attacks Armin. Oh, it was such a good scene, showing how far Eren has gone, how much he has changed from the beginning of the story to now, in how he conducts himself and how he relies on and loves his friends so deeply, to now doing this to them. His values, his goals, everything has gone under such an extreme transformation. And my friend and I, from the very beginning, we were like, I don't know, Eren seems a little bit unhinged, a little bit obsessive over this quest for revenge. I could see a digression of character coming for him. I could see him kind of going dark. This was not what I expected. I expected him to have a lot of like push and pull and struggle within himself, maybe do some dark things, but ultimately still be fighting for his side. Not like marching into Marley, wiping out civilians, and then even turning on his friends and saying, you make me sick, and destroying their entire view of the world and of him and of themselves. Now, again, talking about the friend, actually it's Lynn, my mod. She's the friend that's reading this alongside of me. We're reading this for the first time together, and she and I are of a same mind about the scene, which is that even though we've been looking at Eren and seeing something coming, not this, but something, even with that being true, this feels a little bit like the trope of like, I want to protect you, so I'm gonna hurt you. I hurt you to protect you. I hurt you to push you away so that you're not near me, so that I can, because I don't want you to be in danger. I do think that Eren has made a huge character change, but there is a piece of me and of my friend that we kind of feel like this might be a little bit of that. Like, it might, I don't know that I fully believe that Eren believes this on the level that he's delivering it. I don't know that I fully believe that he is actually disgusted by Mikasa and always has been. We'll just have to see. I don't know. It's just the, you know, just me trying to figure out how I feel about this scene. But I mean, the man beat up his friend. Like, he hurt Armin so bad. And I gotta tell you, as someone who was really just not an Armin fangirl, I have grown to love him so much. And so watching this poor kid stand up for his friend, not being willing to give up faith in Eren, and then when Eren turns on them, he stands up for Mikasa and he fights for her, and then just gets pummeled. Like, it was not a pretty sight. Just the same, Levi, sorry for the dogs. Levi is also going through a lot of he's having to face a lot of things too. I really love this scene where he is reflecting on the fact that he's really just relied so much on Eren to be what they needed him to be. It says, I've saved Eren's life again and again, and each time so many of my comrades have died. I did it because I believed he was the best hope for humanity's survival. I do wonder, oh wait, sorry. And this is where that belief has gotten me. It's almost like one big awful joke, that hope we all looked toward. What was it really? Waiting for us after all that death was this farce? Give me a break. Well, I'm not laughing. Okay. He's holding his head as he's recalling that, which, coming on the heels of Eren acknowledging Mikasa's headaches and her desire to obey Eren because of some sort of code, some sort of, you know, the thing in the Ackerman bloodline, and we know that Levi is an Ackerman, and now he's holding his head. I wonder if he too is kind of influenced to believe Eren, and that's less of his choice and more of that influence that Eren was leaning into. If that what he said about them and the headaches being tied to them, if all of that was real, I wonder if that's if Levi's experiencing that as well. But anyway, I love that scene for him acknowledging, much like what Connie is going through right now, where he's completely disengaged from trusting in Eren, and he's like, you let us down. You're not my friend anymore. Hanji too had a moment of that on the airship when she said, you put your faith in us and we lost our faith in you. One after another, Eren's closest friends are seeing the choices he's making and realizing, you're not who we put our trust behind. And Levi realizing all of the comrades that he loved and cared about, and we've seen how much he cares about his comrades, knowing that I let them die. Like, I led them into this because I believed you to lead us out of this. And for what? Were you worth it? This scene, right after that, where he is talking to the Beast Titan, talking to Zeke, and all the people are in the trees, and he's acknowledging, you know, Zeke's not gonna run. He's completely surrounded. Look at all these people. I did not, even when Zeke said, asked, is there any wine left? And Levi's like, no, we've been here for all this time. And we just had the wine scene. But I didn't put it together that Zeke was asking a very specific question, and I didn't put together that all these people are surrounding them, and Levi's putting his faith on them being surrounded. And I'm like, yeah, sounds great, awesome. And then Zeke starts running, and I'm like, what are you doing, Zeke? Like, that's obviously a dumb plan. And then he yells, and then they turn. It was such a good scene. And then Levi was completely surrounded, looking at his comrades. Again, he just acknowledged all of these people that I love, that I care about, have died because I put my faith in Eren. And now even more of his comrades have now been turned into titans, and he's looking around saying, are you still there? Is there any of you left? Are you still in there somewhere? And then they all surround him and advance on him, and I was like, no. Like, I thought he died there. I thought he died in that scene. I thought it was over. I thought it was done, because he was just acknowledging the pain of having lost all these comrades for nothing, and now more comrades are falling, and it all just feels really hopeless. Like, the series just feels really hopeless right now. And so here I am thinking, oh no, Levi's just gonna let it happen. He's not gonna keep felling his comrades because he doesn't have anyone to believe in anymore. But no, he's just like, they're already dead, they're already Titan, it's done for them. I'm gonna go hunt down that beast over there. So he takes them down. Levi is such a strong fighter. Watching him chase after Zeke and once again repeat the fight sequence from before. I don't know if it was 1-to-1, but I know that he sliced up his arm again just like he did last time and took the man down, just destroyed him, cut through his neck, brought him down, put a thunder spear through his body, made a tripwire, and told him, don't move or you're done. Oh my goodness, Levi was so good in this scene. It was crazy. It was so good. Also Zeke, oh my goodness, I'm just flipping through these panels because I went on a bit of a tangent and just like started talking. But now I'm flipping through these panels and at one point Zeke ripped the head off of a Titan, crushed it, and then threw it like a baseball. Did you really think I wouldn't be able to kill my comrades just because you turned them into Titans? I guess you wouldn't know how many of my friends we've already had to kill. That's some tragic line. In the meantime, as all of this is happening, Officer Pixis, I'm really sorry, I don't know his name, he is training the next cadets, and they are letting him know, we think Eren's right. We think he has the best plan, and we think that we should be falling behind him, not continuing on in this old system. And then, daggone, what's his name? Flock. Then Flock barges in with Hanji's arms tied up, and just says, all right, he presents the way that we must weed out. Purge him. And Pixis, and I'm sorry for saying his name wrong, says, even all of these children would be no match for me. And then they all look at him, and then we see him on the ground. So, in the anime, that cutscene of them all advancing on him, and then he's down, was so effective for what it was. I imagine he didn't fight back. I imagine he just allowed it to happen because he didn't want to hurt these kids, and didn't really see what happens if he does. What happens if he kills all these children, all these young kids, all these young people, and then turns on Flock, who has a gun aimed at him, with poor aim, by the way, but you know, has a gun aimed on him. Like, what's gonna happen? So I guess he just saw, like, this is a losing situation. I'm not gonna fight. I'm gonna let them take me down. And it's a horrible situation because you can see the fear in the kids' eyes when they're given that command, but it's a control tactic, right? Like Flock said, are you following me or not? So they follow him. So they've already committed treason is the only word I can think of, but I'm sure there's a better word for it. But they've already committed treason. And then after they've done that, then he says, okay, now beat him up, take him down. And so now they're kind of just left in this place of like, I've already defected from him, but I won't be accepted by him unless I do this terrible thing. So they do the terrible thing, and now they're locked in, because now they also have the guilt of that on them of like, well, there's no turning back at this point. I've already made myself into a terrible person to join this cause, right? Like it's a great manipulation tactic, and just around everything, just around all the corners, it's really sad. Everything that's happening is just really sad. So anyway, back to Zeke and Levi. Zeke does the thing. He activates the trigger, and they both get blown up. Then we get the flashback for Zeke, and this backstory, this quick flash of Zeke's childhood was really, really good. It's always a really good writing tool. It's something that I really appreciate when you establish someone as being, you know, someone that's making terrible decisions, someone who's committing a lot of harm, and then you recontextualize how they got here, and it doesn't change their actions, but it does help the reader to understand what got them here. You know, it's good character writing. It doesn't change the morality of the character, it just makes the character a more well-rounded, fleshed out human character. We see him in his childhood being raised partially by his parents, partially by his grandparents, and getting two very different histories told to him between them. That of the Eldian, what the Eldians are teaching, and that of what the rebels are teaching. The monstrous past that they had, and no, that was all a lie, that's not true. And then we see him actually getting some sort of nurturing, some sort of love from the previous holder of the Beast Titan, someone who wanted to, someone who had a dark past himself, who was affected by this racism in his wife, who once she found out that he was Eldian, didn't want her for herself or her son to continue on. after learning who they were with. Him playing baseball with Zeke and giving him that love, while in the meantime his dad is putting so much pressure on him. You have to fulfill this mission. You have to do what we need you to do to complete our plan, to continue our goals, and, you know, being really, really angry and screaming when Zeke isn't physically fit enough to complete these tasks, when it doesn't look like he can be the best of the best, to be able to be a warrior, Eldian. There were many scenes that I thought were really, really powerful to show how Zeke got to where he is, most of which being Grisha screaming, showing how scared of a kid he was, how much pressure was put on, how much was put on his shoulders, much like Sasha's dad talked about. You know, this should not be a burden that these children are forced to carry for us. You know that Faye was only killed in the first place because of how crazy this world is. We need to fight so that no one ever has to meet her fate again. And then the previous holder of the Beast Titan, the one that was giving him attention and love, told him, you have to turn your parents in. He was the one that told Zeke to do it. And then they had this conversation where Zeke told him, if no more subjects of Ymir are born, every Titan would be gone from this world 100 years from now. The world wouldn't have to live in fear of the Titans or suffer at their hands. And as for us, if we'd never been born in the first place, we'd never would have had to suffer either. This is when we hear the backstory of the owner of the previous Beast Titan with his family and how he lost them. And then he says, how much better it would have been if I was never born into this world. And that's when Zeke decides, I will inherit the Beast Titan. Not for the Marley's sake. In his mind, it is the only way to save Eldia. It is to put us out of our misery. And even as Zeke is in that wagon with Levi, and he's telling Levi what his plan is, and Levi's accusing him of all the harm he's done, and he's saying that he didn't steal anything from anybody. He was giving them a gift. I saved them and the children they would have. I saved them all from this cruel world. And then he trips the wire, and they explode. Zeke, you can see his body, you see the top, one part going one way, one part going the other, and you see Levi, seemingly still intact, flying off as well. I had to change angles because my battery died, and I had to move it so I could plug it in. Anyway, so Zeke learned in the flashback that the reason his spinal fluid is unique in that he can use it to control people is because he has royal blood. So he was instructed, just find someone that you can trust to have the founding titan so that you guys can work together and save the world, save the Eldians by, you know, making sure that the Eldians no longer exist. I loved recontextualizing some of the things that we saw Zeke say to Eren, the compassion that he showed for him, how much he actually really does care for his half-brother, knowing how he grew up under Grisha, knowing what kind of father Grisha was to him, wanting to save Eren from the fate that he assumes Eren must have had under Grisha as well, not wanting him to have to suffer mentally the way that he suffered mentally. We were both victims of our father. He's brainwashed. And then we get to see some of the flashbacks of those previous conversations they had where he told him, we were both victims of your father. He's brainwashed you. Someday I'll come save you. I'll admit that during all of this conversation, I was heavily confused because the word being used here is euthanization. We're going to euthanize all of the Eldians. I misunderstood the plan to mean, you know, the Marleyans can't kill us if we wipe ourselves out first. Eren is recalling when he got the memories of his father, not just killing them, but smearing the children's bodies across the wall. I didn't just see it, I remember how it felt. If those children were still alive, I'd be eaten now, and the founder would be back in the hands of the royal family. We'd still be bound by the vow renouncing war, and humanity inside the walls would be dead. Oh, and humanity inside the walls would be dead. The deaths of those children allowed us to live. If the Eldians in this town had never been born, none of them would have to die in the plan we're about to carry out. There would be no suffering, no deaths. Never having to be born to this world is the greatest salvation of all. I'll do it. So the way I understand this plan is that they are going to sterilize everyone, use a small version of the rumbling to threaten the world, to keep the world out, to protect them, to be their defensive shield until everyone can just die naturally of old age, but no one can continue to have children. We'll continue to, thankfully Historia's already pregnant, so we can have her inherit the Beast Titan, or have that child inherit her, but then the child after her. We're going to allow people to, a royal bloodline to continue to inherit the Titan power, not the Beast Titan, the founding Titan, the Titan powers, so that they can continue to have this defense of the rumbling and protect themselves until they can all just die peacefully of old age. I do not like this plan. I hope this is not the resolution that the story goes with, because while I'm very sympathetic of the fact that in times of warfare and of extreme oppression and racism, there would be people that would say, I'm not raising a child in this world. I'm not bringing more children into this world as it is. And I think, you know, throughout history there have been people who have made that choice, but also in times of extreme war and depression and terrible situations, people have also chosen to continue to have families as well. I was talking with another friend about this, and she put into words perfectly, so I'm just going to quote her. The problem is that Zeke and Eren are making this choice for everyone, unilaterally. The decision is being made for all Eldians. This isn't a decision that the Eldians are saying. They're not saying, oh good, we have a shield, we can have 50 years of protection, let's all collectively decide to stop having children and just die out as a race. No, it's being decided for them. It's being chosen for them to without their consent, without their free will, to sterilize these people so that we can end our oppression by dying off. If some would choose to go on that way, then cool. But what about those that would not choose that for themselves? Their free will is taken from them. Their choice is taken from them. And I don't know what the best decision is, and I don't think that the series is asking for me to come up with the best decision or to ally myself with the Jaegerists or with the Marleyans or with the military. I don't think the series is saying, okay, what side do you pick? You have to choose. I think the series is showing what humanity is capable of, and then see characters from many different angles trying to find what they think is the best solution to end this suffering. And they're each going at it in very different ways and trying to find different solutions. And I think what the series is begging us to do is to acknowledge that the only way out of just continuing this cycle is to put down the knife, but also at the same time acknowledging that the way of humanity is that everyone will never, there will never be a situation where everyone puts down the knife. We need to strive to put down the knife. That should be our goal. But there will always be other people who will pick it back up again. So it's showing us the hopelessness of the nature of humanity while also giving us the hope within ourselves to put down the knife. Now, as far as on a global scale what the right decision is, I don't know, and I don't think that the story is asking me to figure that out and ally myself in a certain place. I think it's just showing that there really is no perfect solution to a situation like this, because the only perfect solution, which is for everyone to lay down their knives, isn't going to happen. And so now we're just watching it all unfold. And because of that conundrum, I don't know how this series could possibly end. Like, I don't know how we could resolve the series satisfyingly by saying, yay, the Eldians all died. But just the same, I don't think that the series would be satisfying if it was like, yay, war goes on forever, nothing changed. Like, I don't know how do we end this series? I don't know. Anyway, Zeke got shoved inside of a person's belly, well, a Titan's belly, and then popped back out. So he's alive. Oh yeah, I also love what the series is doing with the armbands. Red armbands are those that willingly joined the Jaegerists. Black armbands are the, wait, no. white armbands are those that willingly join the Jaegerists. White armbands are those that forcibly join the Jaegerists because they drink the wine. And black armbands are those that drink the wine but still refuse to submit. So they're basically getting their own Marleyan armbands. And I love that the story did that it's showing that there's this new uprising, there's this new agenda, this new plan that is still death. It's still wiping out the Eldians, just in a more humane way. And they're still having to wear armbands to distinguish themselves on if they ally themselves with the new rule of law or not. It's just now inside of the wall instead of outside of the wall. I thought thematically that was so good. Okay, so this is a manga only scene, or it's in the anime, but the anime just divided it differently. Probably that one. I'm probably going to get this in a future episode, but this did not happen in this arc in the anime. So warning for anyone that happens to be watching this that isn't caught up. We have confirmation that Levi is dead. Seemingly. I still have a little bit of cope. Let me explain. So, Hanji got there first and asked Levi, "Are you alive?" and had a minute alone with him. And then the Jaegerist came up behind and said, "Oh, sweet, our greatest threat, lying there on the ground, completely vulnerable. Allow me to shoot him through the head." And Hanji's like, no, super dead. He's dead, super dead, definitely dead, super dead. I know it, even though he doesn't look like his insides are eviscerated, they super are. So at first when I read this scene, I just mourned because I was like, no, don't tell me he's dead. I can't deal with it. And then I read the scene again, and then I read the scene again, looking for cope, just trying to find some thread of hope that I could hang on to, and that's what I've got. That's what I've got, is that Hanji is maybe lying to get them not to shoot him. That's it. Don't laugh at me, please. I need just to hang on for a minute longer. So this whole section ended on Peck entering into the place where Eren is trying to get Gabi to help him. She stabs the guard in the throat and then tries to threaten Eren. And Eren just steps up to the gun and he's like, "You're not gonna kill me. You can't. I'm the founding Titan. You don't have a choice. You would have to turn Titan to even do it, because you can't just waste me." It was so good. So she surrenders and then says, "Yeah, I'm super gonna work with you." She tells Gabi, "Even Marley will be done with us and they'll kill us all. Prove as many times as you want that you're a good Eldian, they'll never free you. We have to win our human rights for ourselves." Now, this was her bluffing because she wanted to lead Eren to the rooftop, but it's true though. It's true. The Marleyans are not going to stop using you as tools for their benefit. They're not going to stop unless something changes with the ideology that has so permeated society, and the people that are in control that are doing all of this, that have the system in place. Until they're out of the picture, it's not going to, like, the system has to change. They can't just fall in line with the system and then everything gets better. That's not gonna work. Also, at the same time, we have the one character who I don't know how to pronounce the name of. Even during a live stream, my patrons tried to help me figure out how to pronounce the name, and I still don't know. But that one character was calling them filthy devils, and she just shot him. And she said, "Apologies for the rudeness. This island no longer has any need for those who would curse you as devils." And then she explains her plan for sterilization, and Armin is moved by it. Thinks that it's a beautiful plan, thinks that it's hunky-dory. And again, I say, great, Armin, if you don't want to have any kids, good on ya. But that decision can't be made unilaterally for the entire race of people. But I get it. I get why he would be moved by the plan, because in the face of all this war, in the face of all this tragedy and all this pain that he's literally seen nothing but, like, he was born into this war, he's grown up with this war, he sees no way out of this war. I understand why that would feel like the best option in his mind at the moment. I hope they're presented with a better option. Anyway, this scene, which the arc in the anime ended on, where Eren is on the rooftop and he says, "Show us, where is the enemy?" And Peck raises up, she looks at Gabi all smiley and lovey, and then raises up her hand and points to Eren and says, there. And then she protects Gabi, and then Gillard or whatever his name is, comes up from the ground in his jaw titan form and down on him, and then Reiner descends from the skies, or well, it comes in from the sky. He's in the airships, but he's there ready to fight as well. Time to get revenge for Liberio. I don't know, there's so many different names for things. We're going to put an end to him here. And then that's the end of the chapter. Now, I think part of this episode is also in this next chapter, but I don't think very much of it. So I stopped there, and I'm just gonna cover the rest of it in the next arc. This was an excellent arc. So much to discuss, so much to take in. Like, there's so much for me to keep track of right now. Things are moving so much. My perspective on Eren, on Grisha, on Zeke keeps shifting with each new arc. I keep getting more context, more layers, more understanding, and their characters also continually change throughout this time. It's been such a fascinating read slash watch. Also, it sounds like there's a train like right behind me, and it's not. Anyway, I really don't have any predictions about what's to come. I don't know what's left for this story to do that could make it have a satisfying ending. I do think that if this series does stick the landing, this will easily be in my top 5 series list, but the more I read, the more I continue to be concerned about, like, how can you land this? Like, how can you end this well? I don't know. It's been such an excellent story and such a fascinating discussion piece, but also where do we go from here? How do we end this? You know, I don't, but I will know soon. So, thanks for chatting with me. Thanks for hanging out with me yet again for another very long video. I will see you again soon for more of this. Bye.